Welcome once again to Auto Mundial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week, Mini brings us its latest Cooper hot hatchback. But is electric power worthy of immense rallying heritage?
We've also got a Ford Maverick pickup truck with all the attributes of a race-ready monster.
Plus, a French manufacturer clings on to the internal combustion engine in a rather extreme fashion.
That's all coming up. First though, the news.
Whilst battery electric vehicles are the current market focus, Toyota is one manufacturer with a firm eye on the advancement of hydrogen fuel cell technology. Presenting all the zero-emission benefits of BEVs without the frustrating charging times and cumbersome batteries, hydrogen does sound like the way forward. And with BMW now looking to introduce its first fuel cell electric vehicle in 2028, it's joining forces with the established Japanese car maker in a bid to push development further. In recent years, the Bavarian manufacturer has developed the working prototype of an iX5 hydrogen SUV, whilst Toyota's Mirai is one of the most recognisable hydrogen models on the market today. According to the two companies, the collaboration will focus on developing a new hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle powertrain that should drop into existing models in both car makers' ranges. Reportedly, the partnership will also look at ways of improving what is currently waning hydrogen infrastructure, both by encouraging further production and facilitating investment in refueling facilities, a key break in fuel cell electric vehicle uptake.
Sitting on the same platform as the Alfa Romeo Tonale, the Jeep Compass is very much a middle-of-the-road model within the American manufacturer's range. From the outside, there are many similarities between the mid-size SUV and its Grand Cherokee elder sibling, getting the same 7-slot grille, recognisable headlight shape and similar cabin shape. Matching Jeep's rugged appeal, the Compass gets easy-to-clean upholstery inside. While this is a good idea in theory, very few will ever take this mid-size SUV off-road, resulting in a rather tacky user experience. Moreover, the centre console layout does feel somewhat cheap for the same reason. On the other hand, space inside does feel good for 4 adults, even on longer journeys. Where most of the Jeep's rivals get sloping roofs, hindering on headroom, the Compass will easily welcome those upwards of 6 foot in comfort. It feels like the Compass is making too big of a compromise between its adventurous alter ego and desire to be a regular family crossover. As a result, we feel it struggles to do either particularly well, and in a segment as competitive as this, there are countless alternatives.
Lying at the top of sales charts in the UK, month upon month, however, is the Ford Puma. Upon its initial launch, the returning nameplate in SUV form may have caused controversy, but the general public has adopted its new shape and voted with its wallet. Despite its largest size, the model still gets rather agile looks thanks to a rear bias stance, plenty of curves and some nice details throughout the design. In fact, its sculpted bonnet really helps reduce the model's visual bulk. Better yet, thanks to a recent facelift, the Ford Puma gets a rather nice cabin with pleasant soft-touch surfaces and a nicely designed dashboard. Sitting dead centre is a 12-inch infotainment screen running the manufacturer's latest SYNC Sync system that we find about as responsive as anything else on the market. Ford's bestseller suffers from a small engine with little punch, with its 1-litre EcoBoost sitting alone on the options list. But select the upper echelon 155 brake horsepower model over the standard 125 brake horsepower car, and you should have enough get up and go for most overtaking manoeuvres.
Hiding underneath the Jeep Compass's recognisable body is a vast selection of powertrains ranging from a plug-in hybrid 1.3 litre all the way up to a 1.5 with 48-volt mild hybrid assistance. With a slow automatic transmission zapping power from the latter, we'd recommend the former for its better torque and efficiency, but that does come at a price. While the Jeep Compass hits the market at £30,000, the engine you want requires parting way with an additional £10,000. Not only does the Ford Puma present as the better car, it also hits the market at a respectable £25,800. But if you do have your heart set on a Jeep, the smaller, more polished Avenger presents as a far nicer product in our opinion.
A younger sibling to the F-150, the best-selling vehicle in the United States of America, the Ford Maverick is Blue Oval's latest addition to the pickup market, launching in 2022. A mid-size pickup with a classier appeal, this is far more the family truck rather than a builder's runabout. But if fancy grille details and uprated interior luxuries are not enough to sway you, perhaps a special project tucked up Ford sleeve will. Making use of the Maverick's smaller stature is the LOBO edition, a sporty so-called street truck ready to take to the track and rival any car that dares challenge it. What you're watching here is autocross, the people's racing pastime in America, in which cars take on a course made up of cones set up in a car park. And the Ford Maverick LOBO appears to be rather good at it. Sitting on lower suspension and these cool turbofan wheels with a redesigned front bumper, the LOBO gets inspiration from the street truck trend of the 1980s, in which drivers would modify their pickups for a cleaner, sportier look. Indeed, it is a rather good-looking model for a four-person utilitarian workhorse. But it isn't all about the looks, as torque vectoring, sending power to the outside wheel for optimal grip and 240 brake horsepower from a 2-litre turbocharged engine, mean performance isn't bad either. Plus, the 7-speed transmission's flappy paddles aboard this sporty truck will surely never fail to inspire a chuckle. The LOBO edition is now on sale starting from $42,000 with all the bells and whistles of modern infotainment and comfort, though a more basic 36.5 model will hit dealership forecourts later this year.
After the break, Audi may be the accepted estate car kingpin, but in the EV age, nothing is certain.
Welcome back. Coming up, Bugatti gives us a glimpse at its newest model, sporting 16 cylinders and over 1,700 horsepower.
In a world of high-riding SUVs and compact hatchbacks, we appreciate the manufacturers sticking to their guns and continuing to pump out low-slung estates well into the EV age. One of our favourites in class is the recently launched Volkswagen ID.7 Tourer, combining sleek electric VW looks with a fantastic body shape. Indeed, the minimalist design looks so much better on this smaller car than the taller ID.5 in our opinion. Various different specifications of the new age estate are available, but of interest to many will be the latest Pro S edition with its 86 kilowatt-hour battery under the floor. A single rear-mounted motor means 285 brake horsepower, and a sub-7 second 0-62 time indicates good torque. Nevertheless, over 430 miles on a single charge is an impressive figure, whilst fast charging of almost 150 miles in 10 minutes is almost enough to convince us to move away from combustion engines. Inside, the ID.7 in Tourer form makes the most of a near 3-metre wheelbase, offering fantastic rear legroom and a highly competitive 605 litres of boot space. Drop the rear seats and you'll fit longer objects up to 2 metres in length. You could even sleep rather comfortably in the back, provided you inflate a mattress. Tech is very much aplenty on board, as with all electric vehicles looking to convince the gadget nerds within us all to move over from combustion power. Heads-up display, 15 inches of infotainment, touchscreen and a dual-zone aircon are all standard fitment. Meanwhile, assists like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping and roadside detection also feature on the base car. Onboard gizmos are all well and good, but it's the stylish, almost upmarket design that we appreciate most inside the ID.7. Fancy electronically adjusted air vents may sound like something to go wrong, but until they do break, we'll enjoy their nice wraparound design.
As manufacturers begin to fulfill their EV commitments, more and more electric models are beginning to fill the space. The estate segment may not be what it once was, but Audi is also very keen to continue offering its Avant models, and the new A6 e-TRON is the first 4-ringed EV to join the party. Just like the ID.7, you can get an Audi A6 with a sloping roof in saloon form. On either body shape, you get the same rather bulky overall form with its sleek yet aggressive details in true Audi style. Take a look at any other of the manufacturer's models and you will notice similarities. But for the extra space and, in our opinion, better looks that the Avant offers, why bother? If you do end up making the arguably correct choice, you get the same 3-metre wheelbase and 5-metre overall length as the Volkswagen. However, with just 500 litres of boot space, some 100 less than the ID.7, we are left feeling somewhat underwhelmed. Large plush seats and a far more intricate cabin may well explain the gulf in luggage capacity, but it isn't a few 5-litre storage bins here and there that will make up the difference. Furthermore, the entire cabin all appears a bit ostentatious for us, with the collection of screens, 37 inches of display in total, and an overall dark place to be. Thanks to what the 4 Rings is calling the most aerodynamic Audi ever made, plus a 100 kilowatt-hour battery, the new A6 Avant can boast 435 miles of range. And the 800-volt architecture does mean super-fast charging from 10 to 80% in just 21 minutes. 362 brake horsepower from a rear-mounted motor, similar to the ID.7, means 0 to 62 takes just 5.4 seconds. But nothing about the Audi really screams practical family car, rather fun toy in disguise. Furthermore, starting just under £72,000, the A6 Avant will be significantly more expensive than Volkswagen's sub-£60,000 ID.7 Tourer. Well, we know what we'd go for.
Ever since its early days taking on power-hungry monsters on the mountains of the Monte Carlo Rally, the Mini Cooper has been a fun-loving hot hatch with go-kart driving attributes. But as cars get heavier with the arrival of battery electric vehicles, what does that mean for the Hot Mini? This is the all-new, all-electric Mini Cooper SE, so it's about time we found out. Straight away, whilst it may have grown over the years, the modern remake retains the Mini shape we all know and love, even down to the adorable white roof. But take a closer look and there are quite a few changes. At the rear, the gimmick that was the previous car's Union Jack taillights remain but become more subtle, whilst the boot lid is slightly larger for a wider loading bay. Up front, the blanked-out grille is an EV-specific change, as is the more flowing shape, optimising airflow and, by extension, range. As a result of that extra wind tunnel work, plus a 50 kWh battery, the sporty electric Mini will manage over 240 miles on a single charge, plenty for powering around town. And power you shall with 215 brake horsepower under your right foot, sending you to 62 miles per hour from a stop in 6.7 seconds. Though we imagine it would be a bit nippier if it weren't lumbering around 1.6 tonnes. And yet, somehow inside, it all looks very airy, with a minimalist, forward-thinking design that we rather like. Though rear passengers do seem to be an afterthought with what is a tight pair of seats at best. Ultimately, the Mini has become quite the fashion statement. You don't really buy a Mini for its power-to-weight ratio or ease of use. Instead, you put up with the model's quirks in exchange for an aesthetic model that will enhance your social media presence.
But in that respect, it has a rather tough rival to contend with, because surely nothing is more Instagram ready than the fabulous Fiat 500 with a touch of Abarth spice. Don't be fooled by the hint of exhaust burble, however, as that is all part of the Abarth 500e's controversial magic trick. Under the shell of a 1960s original that has lived on a diet of cake for the last few decades, the new age Abarth gets the same 42 kWh that powers the top Fiat 500e, though in this case output is boosted to 153 brake horsepower, meaning range is a measly 160 miles. Despite lacking oomph versus the Mini, it will still hit 62 from a standstill in 7 seconds. Whilst the 500 name has traditionally been the go-to for online recognition, the Abarth's cabin is certainly less inspiring than that of the Mini. Where cool, bold shapes make up the coupe's interior, this Italian bit of kit feels almost conservative. A small 10.25-inch screen sits on the dashboard beside a driver display with a traditional bezel. Bar a few scorpions across the seats and a phone cubby on the centre console, there is little to talk about in the way of style. Not what you'd expect from an Italian hot hatch. That being said, those unsure of making the switch to electric will certainly have an easier time of it with this model, that especially with the underfloor speakers blasting, you could mistake for an old-school gas guzzler. With prices starting as close as makes no difference, around the £34,000 mark, we prefer the Mini's more outgoing approach, not to mention its brighter cabin and extra dollop of power.
Battery electric vehicles with their head-smacking torque figures are all well and good, but every now and then you need a few cylinders to provide the theatrics. And with a new engine layout for the first time since the Veyron's launch some 20 years ago, Bugatti is back to bring the boom of internal combustion. This is the Bugatti Tourbillon, the third new model in over 2 decades for the French hypercar manufacturer, and sat behind the cabin is a whopping 8.3-litre V16. Though, sadly, it's still just a show car, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer to hear it alive and kicking. Bugatti says that when it does finally hit the road, that very un-2024 engine will produce 986 brake horsepower, but it isn't done quite yet, as 3 electric motors contribute to a further 781 brake. Get the calculator out and you'll arrive at the gorgeous total of 1,775 horsepower to all 4 wheels. Hold the accelerator flat for just 2 seconds from a standing start and you'll reach 62 miles per hour. Wait another 23 seconds before letting off and the rather stunning timepiece-inspired speedo will read 250. That is, if you can read it in time before the police lock you up indefinitely. Visually, the new Bugatti Tourbillon follows a trend set by its predecessors with the horseshoe grille, aggressive headlights, central line running from head to toe, and the stunning curve behind the doors. But the cabin is a different story, sculpted like a piece of art from the Renaissance. Despite the almost timeless design inside with its clock faces and intricate controls, a small screen does pop out of the dashboard for all your phone connectivity requirements. Though really, we would recommend not distracting yourself when behind the wheel of what is set to be a £4.5 million hypercar.
Sadly, that's all we have time for, but do tune in next time for some mudslinging fun aboard a V8 Land Rover Defender.